Okay, so multiplying and dividing fractions. A lot of people have problems with this because it sounds quite horrific, but it's really, really simple, I promise you. Okay, so let's actually do it and we'll see how simple it is. So let's say 1/3 multiplied by 1/4. Well, you just multiply the top of the fraction and you multiply the bottom of the fraction. So 1 times 1 is 1 and 3 times 4 is 12. That's it. Sorry, I could try and make it more complicated for you if you like. Let's say we've got 3/4 multiplied by 4/5. So we just do the same again. 3 times 4 is 12 and 4/5 are 20. Now this is right, but it can be righter. With fractions we try to take them down to the most basic we can. So 12 over 20 I know can be cancelled. Both are even numbers, so I know that they can both be divided by 2. So 12 divided by 2 is 6, and 20 divided by 2 is 10. So this is right. This is righter. This is why I don't teach GCS English. But 6 and 10, both of those can be divided by 2. So 6 divided by 2 is 3, and 10 divided by 2 is 5. Now there is no number that will go into 3 and 5 except 1. So that is the final answer. Okay, so this is right, righter. I don't know what comes after righter, but it's 3/5. That's the answer. So remember, we always try and take fractions down to the lowest point. And whatever we divide the top by, we divide the bottom by as well. So let's say we've got 3/7 multiplied by 2/5. Now 3 times 2 is 6, and 7/5 are 35. Now nothing will go into 6 and 35. 2 will go into 6 but won't go into 35. 5 will go into 35 but not into 6. So that's as far as we can go. So that is the right answer. So you can see that multiplying fractions is really easy. That the top of the fraction is called a numerator, so we multiply the numerators. The bottom of the fraction is called a denominator, so we multiply the denominators. And then if we can cancel, we do. Okay? Nothing more complicated than that. So I'm sure you're sitting there going, oh yeah, but they give us much harder ones. Okay, so let's see if it's that hard. So let's say we've got 1.5 multiplied by 2.25. Okay, that looks fairly horrific. Now, what we need to do is change these to what we call an improper fraction. This means that it's going to be top heavy. Because 1 times 2 is 2, we know, and 1/2 times 1/4 will give us an answer, but that wouldn't be the correct answer. So we always change these are what we call mixed numbers. So we always change mixed numbers to improper fractions. Now we've got 1 1/2. Now I know in 1 there are 2 halves, plus this 1/2 is 3 halves. Okay? Because 3 halves will give me 1 1/2. Now 2 1/4, well, I know there's 4 quarters in 1. So in 2 there must be 8 quarters. Plus this 1/4 is 9 quarters. Okay? So we've changed this from mixed numbers to improper fractions. So now we've gone back to this, which is what we want. So 3 times 9 is 27 over 2 4s are 8. Okay, so this is right, but it can be righter, because I know that 27 is more than 8, so this is more than 1. So all I do is I find out how many times 8 can go into this number, 27. Now I know 3 8s are 24. So if 3 8s are 24, that gives me a whole number of 3. Okay, because 8 8s equal 1, so 16 8s must equal 2, so 24 8s must equal 3 whole ones. So I've used 24 of these 27. So that leaves me 3 over. So I'm left with 3 of these 8s. And that will be the right answer. Okay? So I'm hoping you're sitting there going, well, it can't be that simple. So let's try and make it absurdly difficult. So let's say we have 3 1/4 multiplied by 2 2/5. Now that looks fairly horrible. So I know that I need to change these to improper fractions. Now I know 4 quarters make 1, so 3 quarters make 12 quarters. 4 quarters make 1, 8 quarters make 2, so 12 quarters makes 3, plus this 1/4 gives me 13 quarters. And that's going to be multiplied by fifths. So 5 fifths make 1, so 10 fifths make 2, plus that 2 is 12 fifths. Okay? Now, at this point, your teacher may say, well, you can cancel, and this is very true. We can do something called cross-cancelling, but let's just assume that you don't want to do that. Okay? Then we have to multiply 13 by 12. So 10 lots of 13 is 130, plus 2 lots of 13 is 26. So 130 plus 26 is 156. So now we're dealing with quite huge numbers. And then 4 times 5 is 20. So as I said, this is right, but it can be righter. So we have 156 20ths. Now I know 20 20ths is 1. So if I divide 20 into 156, that'll tell me how many whole numbers I've got. Now I know that 2 7s are 14. So 7 20s would be 140, leaving me 16. So this would be 7 with 16 20ths left over. Now remember, we need to make this as small as possible, and I can see that 16 and 20 can be divided by 2. So we can make it right-er. Don't tell your English teacher that I used right-er. We have 7, now 16 divided by 2, or we could divide by 4, because 4 will go into that. So let's try 4. So 4's into 16 goes 4, and 4's into 20 goes 5. So our answer is 7 4/5. So we've gone from the very, very simple to, I think, what's quite complicated, but the multiplication is always the same. We multiply across the top and we multiply across the bottom, and then can we cancel at the end? Now here I could have made things a little bit easier on myself. If I had 13 over 4 multiplied by 12 over 5, I can cancel top to bottom, and I can cancel diagonally. Now 4 and 13, there's no connection. 5 and 12, there's no connection. 5 and 13, there's no connection. But 4 and 12, I know 4 does go into 12. So 4 into 4 goes once, and 4's into 12 goes 3 times. So I've just cancelled it down a bit. So now I multiply across. So 13 times 3 is 39, and once times 5 is 5. So instead of having this horrible 156 over 20, I've just got 39 over 5. Now once again, I know 5/5 equals 1, 2/5 equals 2, equals 10, 3 will equal 15, and so on. So I just divide 5 into 39. Now 5 7s are 35, so that will give me 7 whole ones, because 5 7s are 35, and 35 taken away from 39 gives me the 4/5, which is exactly the same answer. Now if you don't want to do this, or you find this too complicated, don't do it, okay? I'm sure at some point your teacher will take you through this, but if you think, oh no, this is a step too far, then don't do it, okay? Do what is comfortable for you. So that's multiplication. We multiply across the top, we get an answer. We multiply across the bottom, we get an answer. If we can cancel, we do, okay? And here again, we cancel, we cancel, we cancel. So that's multiplication. Now division of fractions is equally as simple. Let's go back to 1/3, but this time divided by 1/4. Okay. Now, as a mathematician, I look at this and I think, I really cannot be bothered with this. I like this. Now, division is the exact opposite of multiplication. So what I do is I rewrite the question and I write 1/3 multiplied by Now because I've changed this to the exact opposite, I just changed this, the second fraction, to the exact opposite. So instead of 1/4, it becomes 4/1. So 1/3 divided by 1/4 is exactly the same as 1/3 multiplied by 4/1. Okay, this is what we call the reciprocal. Now it's in a multiplication form. It's really simple. 1 times 4 is 4. 3 times 1 is 3. Now again, this is right, but we can see that this part of the fraction is top heavy. So we've got more than 1. So 3's into 4 goes once. There's 1 left over, so we've got 1/3 left over. And that's the answer. Can't be as simple as that, Till, so let's make it more complicated just to prove to you that it is that simple. So let's say we've got 2/5 divided by 3/4. I don't want to do this, so I change it from 2/5 multiplied, and I turn this fraction upside down, so I have 4/3, and then I multiply across. So 2 4s are 8 and 5 3s are 15. Now there's nothing more I can do with this because 8 and 15 have no connection. It's not top heavy, so that is the answer. So let's say we have 1 3/4 divided by, I don't know, let's say 5/6. Okay, because that looks fairly horrible. Now remember, again, we need to change this to an improper fraction. I know there's 4/4 in 1, plus these 3 is 7/4. And I don't want to multiply, I don't want to divide, so I multiply and I turn this fraction upside down, so I have 6/5. Now if I wanted to, I could cancel the 4 and the 6 by 2, but let's assume that you just don't want to do that at the moment. So 7 times 6, so 6 7s are 42, divided by 4 5s are 20. So again, this is right, but it's top heavy, so I want to know how many whole ones we've got. So 20 into 42, well, I know 20 into 40 goes twice, remainder 2. So I'm going to have 2 of these 20s left over. So this is righter, but we can see that 2 and 20 can both be divided. So the 2 stays the same, and I know that 2 goes into both of these numbers, so 2 into 2 goes once, and 2 into 20 goes 10. And that is my answer. Okay, so multiplication and division, really not difficult. Start off with the basics, practice this so that you multiply across, cancel if you can, and get the answer. Okay, speed will come later. At the moment, work slowly, work methodically, check, can you cancel? Can you break it down anymore? Okay, now just as a tip, where we've been cancelling, we've been quite lucky because we've been dividing by 2 because the numbers have been even. But I don't know if you know this, but I will tell you. If we've got, let's say we've got 30 over 40. The first number that comes into my mind to cancel is divide by 10 because they both end in 0. So 30 divided by 10 is 3 and 40 divided by 10 is 4. Bingo, job done. If I've got 26 over 50, I can see that they're both even numbers. So I know straight away I can divide by 2. So 26 divided by 2 is 13. 50 divided by 2 is 25. So again, bingo, it's really simple. What you may not know, you may know, and it's great if you do, but if you don't, let's say we have 21 over 36. They don't end in a 0, so I can't divide by 10. They don't end in a 5, I can't divide by 5. And they're not both even numbers. What I can do is look at the numbers like this. 21 is 2 and 1. Now 2 plus 1 is 3. 36, 3 plus 6 is 9. Does 3 go into 3? Yes, it does. Does 3 go into 9? Yes, it does. If that's the case, then 3 will go into both of these numbers. And I'll prove it. 3's into 21 goes 7, and 3's into 36 goes 12. So sometimes a fraction like this looks as though it can't be cancelled, but it's worth doing this because sometimes what's not immediately obvious, if you apply this rule, you can break it down. Okay, so it's just a little tip. I hope this helps. If it doesn't, then get back to me and we'll sort something out. Okay, so just practice, be patient, you'll be fine.